So, I'm gonna start talking about a lot of things. I think a lot of people are expecting me to talk about a lot of things. They've been wanting me to do so. But I've been holding off, mostly because I'm gathering my thoughts still. And I'll probably finish collecting my thoughts by the end of this. I have no idea how long I'm going to talk about all this stuff for. But let's go over some ESO news real quick, ESO community news real quick. At least on PC North America. Okay, so recently, one more carry, which was the largest carry Discord server that provided carries for content, has discontinued services. It's pretty much over for one more carry, and I just want to read the announcement, and then I'll read some other stuff in regards to this, and then I'm gonna start talking about some other shit that's been happening in the past week. It has been a very exhausting week. And because of what's been happening, I'm going to be gone starting on Wednesday. And I'll probably be gone from ESO and from, like, kind of the internet for about 7 days, starting on this coming Wednesday, as of PTS Week 2. Right now, it's Saturday. Alright. Hey guys, it's me again. This announcement is to let everyone know, effective immediately, One More Carry is discontinuing its services. As many of you probably have realized, there has been a massive exodus from the endgame community. OMC has been around for 1.5 years now and started as an offshoot of One More Pull, which started in 2019. In that time, the turnover for players has been massive. I've personally seen so many friends and other familiar faces come and go. With the recent patch notes that dropped for the PTS, and ZOS dead set on continually lowering the ceiling, this has probably been the largest mass exodus from the endgame. And therein lies a problem. Skilled endgame players leave, and there are not runners with the skill set or ability to perform carry runs, replacing them at the same rate. It's been pretty steady, and I've observed it in other carry servers as well. Just for a metric, over the course of the last patch, 600 characters have cleared VRG hard mode, not 600 accounts. That means 50 groups, and most likely some of those characters are on the same account. That content has been out for over a year now, and still such a low amount of people completing it. And every change ZOS makes has taken what people enjoyed and butchered it, despite pushback from the community. They've been trying to get nerf light attacking for a while now, and they'll probably just force this change through. Almost 4 years ago, ZOS made light attack weaving a significant part of the gameplay, upping the damage sword skills and introducing sets that rewarded. Relic with anyone? They've also introduced sets, buffs, and debuffs that have continually pushed damage upward. They've also made DPS checks that are dependent upon high damage. Instead of adjusting the items to bring damage down, they've reversed course on light attack weaving and homogenized all the class rotations, essentially 20 and 30 second dots, plus 15 and 20 spammables. I've watched some parses on the PTS, and the fast-paced gameplay that has drawn many to ESO has been gutted completely, so people can focus on the mechanics. They've worded it as a way to help newer players, but it is an excuse to nerf DPS overall. On average, you'll lose about 20 to 40k DPS depending on the class. It looks like Necro and Sorc were nerfed before the hardest from what I've seen. In short, the PTS patch notes have created a vacuum in the in-game community, especially with skilled players who can do carries. Organizing and facilitating runs is no longer worthwhile or fun for us, and the majority of people here have moved on from ESO. We've had a very good run in the 1.5 years we've been in business, and with over 3,000 carries completed and almost 25 billion gold worth of transactions. I appreciate all people who have volunteered to help and make the Discord the massive success it was. It would not have been possible without you guys. If you're someone who's still looking to buy runs or get paid to do runs, I'd suggest checking out SEMP for those needs. And you know, I'm currently the guild master of SEMP. So it's been a pretty hectic past few days. We're trying to accommodate a lot of people. And of course there was like a Ce-Nex wrote something, and it kind of goes over the history of it. In late 2020, the major carry discords on PCNA got together to standardize prices to stop the constant undercutting. And he lists the servers, and now, now Sempiternal is the only major carry server on PCNA. So we've gone from about maybe like 6-7 servers down to about 1 over the course of the past 1.5 years. Yeah, it's a lot to unpack. I don't know if the update 35 itself like caused all this, because I'm aware that there were other issues too for some time, and I think it's kind of implied here over the past year people are kind of like burning out and stuff like that, and that's fine to a degree. Yeah, so what does this mean? There's a lot of implications this means, that this brings. So, apart from perhaps prices of stuff being weird, because now that you have a lot of endgame raiders leaving the game, there's a lot less people buying chromium platings. There's a lot less people buying Drowax, because the people who care about optimizing will buy the gold materials. So there's gonna be some weird stuff happening. I think I've already seen chromium plating go down by 13k. Which may or may not be a good thing, depending on your perspective, where you're standing in the game with how much gold you have. At the same time, it's a bit worrying, because, and yeah, it's and I'll talk about this actually. Fuck it, why not? Because this video, I think, won't just be about this news, but also things that have been happening in the general ESO community for the past week. And yeah, and I'll explain my personal perspective on it, because a lot of people are like not understanding what's happening, I think, or people are just dismissing it as overreactions, or and I hate this phrase now because it's been peddled and said so much at this point by so many people on Reddit, the forums, Twitter. I don't know what you fucking name it, you know. What's the phrase? Doom and gloom? I fucking hate it. It's fucking stupid. It's just so overused, like the words toxic, elitist, gatekeeping, whatever. And I'm going to explain all of it from my perspective, and I'm going to explain also other people's perspectives, which happen to meld with mine. First, let's start off with what's been happening on my end, and also on some other people's end, including the devs and some other content creators, including like Skinny and some of the other people you know. This past week has been the most aggressive. Like I have never been attacked this much ever before. Like it gets bad sometimes, depending on what's going on in the patch. But this past week has been the most stressful, anxiety-inducing. Like people are out for fucking blood. I'm not joking. And I keep getting these fucking like people like insulting me, talking about me and other people, just a general in-game community too. Ranting and shit, and coming to our servers and fucking starting shit. Going to the YouTube comments, starting shit. I have never, like, the amount of stuff, the amount of vitriol that I've encountered this past week is pretty amazing in itself. Because it's like, okay, so far, let me list the insults, and you can find these on wherever, YouTube, wherever, it doesn't matter, right? I've been called this past week racist, homophobic, which is ironic because some of these people are calling me chink, which is a slur for Asians, because that's referring, I'm sure you guys know. I've been called a toxic elitist. I mean, that's typical. I've been called a gatekeeper. Skinny was called an ableist for some fucking reason, apparently, just because he doesn't agree with the patch notes. He's not just a whiner. He also hates disabled people. And when I saw that, I was pretty infuriated, because I expect that kind of shit against me, because it's like, for some reason people are very, I guess I'm very polarizing. So,
no, I didn't forget.
When I saw that happening to Skinny, I was like, man, if they're going after fucking Skinny, I have no chance. I have no fucking chance. You know what I mean? And it's I also empathize a lot with the devs, because a lot of them have also been getting a lot of personal shit You know what I mean? Like, I'm all for critiquing the devs' ideas and stuff like that. I'm not really for going after their personal, like, you know, details or making, like fun of their physical characteristics or whatever. You know what I mean? That shit is where I kind of draw the line for sure. Like, you should always critique ideas and stances, not go on like a fucking rampage and make people turtle up simply because it's a fucking video game. I mean, ultimately it's a video game. So yeah, it's been wild. I mean, just this morning I got some comments saying, like, people legit. I don't know if it's like bringing out the worst in people or if people are always like that. On this, it's like, someone was like, "You're Asian, so you'll be fine. Stop complaining." Okay, and the similar sentiments will pop up. And that's, not okay, but it's like, I don't give a shit. But it's been really, like, the amount is unprecedented, even for me. Like, it's the amount of hate is just a lot. It's a lot. So that's why I'm kind of, like, stepping back. I'm going to take a vacation for about a week. I'm not, and that's it. That's really it. I'll come back, obviously. But I just, you sometimes you gotta step back after a while. And, funnily enough, when I made those videos, what was it, 2 years ago, and then last year, about, like, the social issues in this game, in regards to, the toxic elitist, or the toxic casual, whatever. People told me I was overreacting then. People literally said, toxic casuals don't exist. People said, I've never, like, even other raiders, like the newer raiders, the ones that have never had to deal with what we went through, really, in terms of, like, our experiences on the forums or even in the game. A lot of people agreed with my conclusions. A lot more, including newer raiders, said, I've never experienced it, so your experience is invalidated, and that's but now the same people, someone who have DM'd me, they're like, now understand what you're saying, because what's happening now in the general space within the community is like, you're seeing so many people support the changes because they somehow are, based on what little they know, they're thinking this next patch is going to help them as players. This patch is going to help them get into raid teams. This patch is going to help them clear content more easily. And this was not very this was not helped by the update 35 combat preview, because the combat preview post, as many other raiders will tell you, even the more cool-headed ones, we read that, and I understand where it was coming from in terms of the analytical minds of the devs, but we initially read all that as very aggressive, very hostile, in my opinion. Like, it feels like they, in that post, were saying, hey guys, these few players are doing a lot, and there's a skill gap between these players and you, so we're gonna nerf them. And it just kind of made it into a shitstorm when a lot of people started realizing, oh wait, we're getting nerfed too. So then that gets pinned on us, because it's like, well, what do you expect when you have such a vaguely worded and a little bit aggressive post, or a very hostile post? And I'm going to try to explain that feeling, because I know there's a lot of people watching the stream and the video that probably have never raided, that probably is starting the game, or that probably doesn't know what the fuck's going on. So I'll try to explain that. But yeah, just as a last note on my personal one, I really also hate it when people are saying all these people being toxic, they're just a minority. And I hate that too, because they're not a minority. They're just not. They're just a huge part of the player base. They've always been there. Just because of the controversial nature of the patch notes and what everyone's doing right now or saying, they're just coming out in more large number. They're more visible. Usually they're enabled because most players see their behavior and accept it as part of the ESO culture, you know. Most people, even content creators, I'm not gonna name anyone, because whatever, right? It's not their fight, technically. They just stay quiet, they just stay silent whenever this kind of shit happens. But now that it's unavoidable, well, people are gonna bound to pick sides in some ways. Although, again, I would urge people to just be really, really objective. And not go after people. I mean, that's like the worst thing you can do. Don't go after devs, don't go after me, don't go after a content creator just because you disagree with them. You can disagree with me, just don't fucking go after me. You know what I mean? So when, you know, when Gallium was like, just don't be malicious, I felt that one pretty fucking hard. Because, man, I don't know. I'm getting tired of fucking a lot of USO players, man. I'm burning out on the players, not even the game. But yeah, let me explain what's going on here. So, in terms of the feelings and sentiments and the thoughts, a lot of people presume the endgame players to not accept the patch notes because it's nerfing them. I'm gonna be real with you, and I think by the time anyone's watching this on YouTube, there's gonna be a VCR hard mode clear on PTS that I recorded. We have the logs, and I believe today there were VDSR hard mode. There was a VDSR hard mode attempted by like some of the world's best players, okay? And like whatever we saw from the combat preview post and whatever we saw from the patch notes, we predicted. We predicted every single thing. Like we predicted, okay, these changes are ass, right? Respectively, respectfully, our rotation is gonna be so boring. Newer players won't be able to handle it because you have to adjust so much to conform to the new play styles. It won't be intuitive, as with a lot of combat changes. It's gonna burn out a lot of people. It's gonna end up in player fatigue. It's gonna end up, honestly, alienating a lot of people who've come to ES over the combat as well. I mean, I understand that there's a casual demographic that doesn't really give a shit about the combat. That's fine too. ESO has everything for everybody. And everything we've seen is like coming to fruition, even on the PTS. Everything we assumed from the patch notes, on paper, without testing, it's happening. And you know, there's a lot of, I mean, the extent of the backlash from the more amount of people this time around compared to Morrowind or Scalebreaker is a lot more. And the reason why it's a lot more is because I've been seeing a lot of this shit pop up. You know what I mean? Game-changing Elder Scrolls Online update sparks huge community backlash. And a spicy dev response. And the whole thing about Rich's tweet, I fucking understand it. Like, I get it, why people are a little fucking ticked off by that, but I also understand his viewpoint on this. Because while this was all, like, happening since... Because they released the combat preview post on Wednesday. Wednesday, not Friday. Typically they do it on Fridays, but on Wednesday. Wednesday is, like, between Wednesday and Monday is a lot of time. And that's a lot of time for people to start getting fucking stupid and aggressive. And, of course, if I was Rich, and I saw my friends or colleagues getting, like, attacked, like, literally, like, harassed, I would have probably said some, you know, like, some shit that would probably tick players off, too. I understand that. But the fact that there's so many, like, articles now about this supposed backlash, right, is telling. Because back in Morrowind, back in Scalebreaker, we didn't have all this. And honestly, the harassment that I've experienced and stuff like that for the past week has, like, pissed me off too, a lot. To the point where, you know what, like, these motherfuckers are saying, despite all we've done, despite all the things we've done with the Project Vitality, which I'll also kind of go over because that's also in jeopardy, they're still calling us, like, no matter, it doesn't matter if we do $1 million in charity, it doesn't matter if we open up rating for everybody, for some reason, like, we're just always gonna be toxic gatekeepers. And at one point I was so goddamn sick of it, I just said, let them have the patch, fuck it. That's my general feeling, honestly. Like, if people are this shitty, in a community, and this is the funny part. I went to the fucking, the lovely Pride event held by Octavian, and there was one person there. I don't know why they would start this in public. It was not the time or place, and they were like berating me in public about, oh, you hate casual players because you made a video about toxic casuals, and I'm like, what? Just leave me alone, bro. I'm here for the Pride March, not for this bullshit. And I don't know, just the amount of harassment and shit, and like the fucking, I don't know, man. It just pisses me off, and I'm just kind of at the limit where I'm just like, you know what? Let them have it. Just let them have the patch. Fuck it. That's my fucking sentiment. That's my fucking feeling. Let them have it, because in the end, just like the VCR thing will show you, just like the VDSR Harmon will show you, from PTS, we're testing stuff on PTS. We'll be fine. Like, we'll be fucking fine. I don't understand why people think we're quitting because we're mad about being nerfed. No one gives a shit about their damage getting really nerfed. It's how it's being done that's pissing people off, and it's also the accumulation of fatigue from having constant swing. I have no idea what ESO player would disagree with me on this, but every 3 months, combat changes a lot. The fundamentals of the game get touched often, and you know, that's okay, because, you know, a lot of people did not like the idea of hybridization. I was okay with it. I support the devs completely on that. I support the devs in a lot of things that I both agree and disagree with. That's fine, because I can see that they have some sort of vision, right? Some sort of goal in mind, some sort of thought process where they said, okay, this is what we want, and this is how we can do it. Okay, fine. But with the Update 35 patch notes, I was, that was like the very first time in over 8 years of me playing the game where I felt like for the first time ever, I couldn't see the vision. And and that's what scared me a little bit. And, you know, people would make fun of me, like, oh, this is a video game, you said, right? It doesn't matter. And I'm like, yeah, but, you know, as much as you hate to admit it, potentially, for the people who are reacting negatively or positively as well to the changes, it has become a significant part, I think, of a lot of people's lives in terms of the social function, in terms of, like, the enjoyment, in terms of a side hobby, in terms of an activity with friends, and that's great. I don't know many other games that I know of that could have provided me with a home. But it's fucked up when it feels like I don't have a home anymore. It feels like everybody fucking hates me, or everybody fucking hates us, simply because we just want to play how we want, which is the most pure, ironic shit I've ever seen in my life. You know, it's always the play how you want people always going after us because we just want to play how we want. And for supposedly one of the most inclusive communities, it does not feel like we're being included a lot, and that's where a lot of the frustrations and feelings are coming from. It's not that we hate, or at least the more rational ones. It's not that we hate anyone or we hate devs automatically. It's just that, like, we're just tired. We're just tired, honestly, and we're frustrated, and I think a lot of people felt betrayed. You know, I think it's a silly thing to feel when you kind of step back and look at the whole picture. Like, some people are saying, oh, Gillian betrayed us, or fucking whatever, and that's silly in my opinion. But I can see where they're coming from, in like with emotions. And I get that, and that's the fucked up part, because I understand it, because I feel it too, to an extent. So it's like, well, you know, like, I don't know. It's not the changes that really, like, make me concerned. It's not the changes, honestly, in the end. It's honestly what results from these changes, and what's gonna happen if, and I don't know. I think it's a lose-lose at this point. Let's say the patch changes go through, it's gonna cause a brain drain, and by that I mean a lot of people are gonna probably quit the game, and by a lot of people I just mean the experienced people. In the overall picture, it probably won't be that many people in the grand scheme of things, but you'll have probably a noticeable enough dent in the endgame population and the more upper tier players, where the raid leads, and this kind of goes back to the project vitality. So last month we peaked at around 240 raid leads across 6 different platforms and servers. As of this week, since the patch notes were announced, that has gone down to 160 raid leads. You do the math here, real quick, chat. One raid lead can take 11 other people through a trial and teach them stuff, whether it's normal, vet, hard mode, whatever. So when you have people leaving that can do that, and they want newer players and low-end players to get into content, and they're nerfing their damage and making it more unintuitive in terms of the combat, tactile feelings, and in terms of the actual numbers themselves, well, how are you helping? And for those people who will stay behind, and this happened in Morrowind, they'll, this isn't the first time a major foundational change to combat has occurred. And this is not the first time. In Morrowind, we lost a lot of people to the point it took us 2 years to get back to where we were before Morrowind in terms of activity, and another 2 years after that to get to where we are now. And we just started Project Vitality, and this is where my personal frustrations come in. I just started this project. I've invested literal money into the project. We invested precious time into the project. And now with the patch notes, it's kind of like, well, do they, and the goal of the project is to say, hey, we can swing things around, we can add more raiders, we can get more people to raid. Please give us some love. That's basically it. But at this point, I think a lot of player trust has been broken. You know what I mean? And that's understandable, because I think a lot of people are just feeling really frustrated and tired and betrayed and not cared about. And I hope they address that somehow with something in the patch notes, or, they gave a shout out to, hey, we care about you heavy attack users, maybe something like that. Like, hey, we care about you guys, the veterans or experienced people of the community, we care about you too. Like, even that, I think, would be good. You know what I mean? So, there's just a lot of hurt feeling right now, and, again, it's not acceptable to go after, content creators or devs or other players, okay? It's just not. But I understand the emotions, and I'm trying to explain the emotions in such a way that other people can understand it. They probably won't understand it, and that's okay too. You don't have to understand everyone, somebody completely but to understand that they are feeling it. It's when you say, especially as a toxic casual, and by that I don't mean every casual player, I just mean that specific demographic that's laying all this harassment on me, at least. And of course, I'm not saying endgame players aren't toxic or whatever. I don't know why people think I'm saying that shit. But it's just like, I don't know. It's just like, it's fine to not understand what someone's going through, but it's not fine to invalidate that experience. So when people are calling us whiners, doom and gloomers, that's even a fucking word. And when people are saying you have no right to complain about a game that you invested years of your life into, or that you found friends in, I mean, that's just kind of fucked up in a way. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't know. Project Vitality, again, we've gone from about 240 raid leads down to about 160 raid leads. Again, you do the math. I don't know if it'll be sustainable. I mean, you already had a high chance of failure. I know a lot of you in chat have gotten your first vet trial clear ever through the project. And I know a lot of other people have. And, I don't know, man. I'm just, thinking to myself, just let the patch go through and see what happens. What will end up happening again, it's the same thing that happened with Morrowind. Whoever stays behind, who's experienced, we're probably going to turtle up. We'll try to help, but, when you're resetting everybody back at the start line, a lot of people will get demotivated, a lot of people will get frustrated, and a lot of people will not have the patience. Will not have the patience anymore. And I don't blame them. And I don't understand why after they said they don't want any more wild, big combat changes, they're doing this now. But looking back, I think they meant that the chapter patches won't have big, wild combat changes. And I don't know, I disagree with that respectfully with the devs. I'm not smart. Like, a lot of people keep telling me, oh, you should go, I don't know, fucking go work at Zod. I'm like, no, I'm not smart. I'm not intelligent enough to be a game dev. I'm not smart enough. In some cases, I'm not kind enough, like the people at Zaz, alright? But like, I don't understand the logic here, with all due respect, because chapters are the patches, the big patches where everybody who played in the past and every new player comes flocking to the game, and it's kind of like, why not just reset everybody at the start line during a chapter launch? Instead of the patch after the chapter launch where everybody's settled in, you know, it just creates feelings of animosity between specific demographics of players. It creates animosity between the devs and players, I feel like. And it feels like, I think a lot of people feel jebaited, like literally jebaited. And I don't understand the changes to the combat system in a lot of ways, because from what I've tested, from what I've seen, from what I felt, I'm not smart. I don't really do much math or mathematical analysis. I'll do it if I need to for rating and stuff like that. Like, what's my debuff at? How am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Blah, blah, blah. But when it comes to general stuff, I'm not as smart as Skinny. I'm not as mathematically intelligent as Asian God or whoever you can name, really. But I don't understand how it helps players when I'm feeling the rotation, when I'm feeling everything that's on the PTS, and I just keep asking myself, how is this helping newer players? A lot of people have put their, like, a lot of people have put forth their fucking theories, conspiracy theories. This kind of shows the extent to which the trust has fractured and may remain to be fractured, because a lot of people don't believe the patch notes will go unmolested or unchanged, excuse me. A lot of people also think that even if they revert the changes, how can they trust them? I get that, but I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. I'm just tired. I'm just really tired. I've been meaning to talk about this for the past few days, but I've been so busy with the streams and the charity and all that stuff. So I might as well talk about it now before we start rating in about an hour. That's just, I don't know. I don't know how to properly convey my feelings on the matter and my thoughts on the matter to people who don't understand. You know. But yeah, we've tested, and it doesn't seem like, I don't know. There's just so much I can talk about. We talked about this a lot the other night with Code and the other raiders. Like, everything is so intrinsically tied together. It's kind of hard to not touch the topic of rewards, not touch the topic of tutorials, not touch the topic of the desire of players to want to even do combat. I don't know. It's a rough time right now. For everybody. That's all I'm gonna say. It's just a rough time for everybody, man. You know? And again, my concerns are primarily the results of the patch, not the patch themselves, not the patch note changes themselves. I could care less about 20k nerf. I don't care about light attacks being nerfed. I don't care really, like, as long as it makes sense. Yeah, I just have concerns just for what will happen, especially at a social and ground level of the game, because I've seen it happen before in ESO. But this seems a bit much more dramatic, much more powerful. You know, and I think I'm a little emotional about this too, because recently I had to disband my raiding core team. We were starting to prog for Swashbuckler Supreme anyway, if could raid. But in the 5 years I've raid led a core team, I have never disbanded a core team. Ever. When we're going for a new trifecta or a score goal. I've never done that before. And the fact that I had to do it because people were burning out, people didn't want to raid, and we just, I don't know, like, and the patch notes, I don't know, it's just a lot of, fatigue. And then when people are like saying, oh, you know, you'll be back, or like, oh yeah, you always say you'll quit, or you're just whining, I'm just like, okay. Like, I don't know what to say. It's yeah, it's okay to disagree. That I'm all for it. I'm okay with disagreeing and agreeing. I just don't like it when people invalidate each other's experiences and says it's gonna be all okay. I don't know about that. Just based on how much shit I've gotten from all these randos that think they're the first in line every time on the internet. And I feel really bad too for other people that are experiencing similar things or the same pushback from people, because I mean, look at dude, like 8 puppies were a goddamn essay. You know what I mean? Based on what we tested on PTS.
No, I didn't forget. Nephis, yo bitch ass, you're next.
And this is what I'm saying. We're testing stuff too. And I understand why people feel really hurt. That's all I'm saying.
I didn't forget. Nephis, yo bitch ass, you're next.
I feel, you know what I mean? Like, I understand why people are feeling the way they are, because we're going to the PTS and we're testing for them, and this happens all the time. And it's like, well, if we all leave, or if most people leave, it's kind of like, well, what's going on at that point, man? It's not like I don't want the game to succeed. I don't know why people think I don't want the game to succeed. Like, that makes no sense to me. And then when Asian God made his video, because even he heard about it. This motherfucker's playing Final Fantasy XIV. He hasn't played ESO since 2020. He heard about the patch notes. He came back, made a video, and these same people harassing me and other people, I guess one of them ended up in his video, and they accused Asian God of, like, being financially backed by Zaz to criticize. So, I don't know. It feels like everybody's IQ is dropping, man. You know what I mean? I don't know what to say after this, honestly. I just want to get this off my chest. That's all. After going over the news, that's it. I'll take questions, honestly. Maybe some people still don't understand what I'm talking about after all of that, and that's fine. It's week 1 PTS though? Yeah, that's fine. Most of the changes on PTS will happen with week 3 and week 5. What I understand on part of the players' sentiments and feelings is players are asking me how did they come to this conclusion that it will help newer or low-end players? You know what I mean? And again, that kind of goes back to the trust that keeps fracturing, because the perception, because the game dev perspective and the player perspective are wildly different. You guys have no idea. Honestly, I think most of you don't. But I understand why players are feeling the way they are. And even, like, just people are just very distrustful right now, and, like, skeptical And again, the feelings of being hurt and not cared about. And that's only exacerbated by how other players are treating them. And most people are okay with it. And that's fine by me too, I guess, if that's how it's gonna be, man, you know? And I don't know what I don't know what week 3 or week 5 PTS patch notes will look like.
Welcome, Raiders.
You know, because
choose your fate. Watch the show or watch the show.
I don't know what they're gonna look like. I think, and this is my personal opinion, alright? Don't use it to hound people. But my personal opinion is, after testing this stuff on PTS, I think they should just revert the dot and hot changes. It does not make things any more accessible for the newer players. It does not make anything accessible for the mid-tier players. It hurts, especially the mid-tier players. It honestly feels like a satire of... like... It honestly feels like a satire of American capitalism, in some sense. Like the rich, like us, like the people, like the endgame people, will be fucking fine. But the people in the middle class and shit, they'll be fucking fucked. I'm sorry, but that's how it is right now on PTS Week 1. So, that's just, you know what I mean, like... and this is a huge deal because, again, going back to the combat thing. A lot of people have stuck around ESO because it's a very unique MMO in terms of the combat system. And when you touch the combat system, anytime you touch the combat system, you'll have a backlash from the players, whether they like it or not, in some sense. Because, I mean, cast times are controversial, but not as big as these changes. Sustain and how it affected your playstyle was controversial, and that was Morrowind as well. Part of it, not all of it. Yeah, the whole Greymoor PTS test cycle for the light and heavy attack proposal, that was controversial because, you know, it's what people fell in love with. And next patch, it doesn't feel like the same system anymore. And that's understandable. I think the topic of content accessibility and the topic of skill gap, it has nothing to do with themselves in a vacuum. I think there's a huge knowledge gap. I think there's a huge desire, or lack of desire, honestly, on part of a lot of players to even improve or to do combat. Code, this is the funniest part. Code actually, like, said what I've said in the past, which people have lambasted me for, because apparently it's toxic or elitist or gatekeeping to say it. But what I've said before, and he said it, like, the other night, why is ZOS focusing on combat for people who probably don't know or care about combat? You know what I mean? Like, it's a very controversial statement to make nowadays. Like, and if they really want people to get invested into the combat, that ties in with rewards and incentives, which ESO does not have for combat or leaderboards or PvP or PvE. And that, the topic of rewards is tied in with just a bunch of other shit. It's tied in with item sets. There's a reason why I kept talking about item sets. These item sets, in essence, are the rewards. And you can't just stop giving out rewards every patch. But if you, like, the problem with item sets is they're a huge staple of why the power creep has gone up. And I don't even know if power creep is necessarily a bad thing, at least for the lower end of players, for the floor. Because anytime there's a power creep, yes, the ceiling does go up. Yes, we can push the boundaries with old content or even new content as endgame players. But you're also raising the floor of players who are able to participate in the harder content, not even just the older content. So it's a tricky system. I don't envy them for it, man. Like, that's what I'm saying. People think it's an easy job. I don't think it's an easy job. I think I think the devs had a really good intention here. And I support that intention. Make combat more accessible somehow. Make content more accessible. Who doesn't want that? I want that. If you ask any endgame player or raider, hey, do you want people to not raid? No sane person will ever say no. We want more. That's more beneficial for us in the long run. When people are out here calling Skinny a piece of shit or me fucking racial slurs and shit like that simply because we disagree with the patch notes. And accusing us of gatekeeping, it's like, I don't want to try anymore, man. I just don't want to try with these people. And that's why I'm just like, let the fucking patch go through. It sucks, man. And then, you know what changed my mind recently? Because I was just not going to test anything. I wasn't going to do anything, honestly. Because, listen to me. Do you know who gains the most from next patch? Do you guys know who gains the most from next patch? It's not the fucking low-end players. It's not the mid-tier players. It's me. It's the endgame players. It's me. Literally, next patch, if people can't clear content, do you know, again, it goes back to the OMC news. The only carry server on PCNA at this point is my guild, is my server. Sem. Who do you, like, gold-wise, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm still against the changes. I'll be fine. I'll still be able to clear content. It'll be easier for me as a content creator to build videos because it's that much more simpler and frankly a little bit more boring, but that makes it easier on me. You know what I mean? I have so much to gain from next patch. Not gonna lie. And in a weird fucking way, you know, I talked about Project Vitality. The raid leads leaving, the raiders leaving, the project potentially at risk of falling apart. That's good. That's good for me too, because now I have more time for myself. But then I'm accused of not wanting to patch because I want to gatekeep, or I want to prevent people from getting their clears, even though we're the ones providing all these access points, and then not the game. You know what I mean? I have no idea what I was gonna talk about beyond that. I think, like, I don't know, man. So I don't really get it, man. I just don't really get it. So yeah, I mean, again, what changed my mind? Because I was just gonna fucking sit back and relax and eat some popcorn, honestly. Because the amount of harassment I'm getting. Like, and I don't know, man. Like, people start reaching out to me and shit. And it's like, it's not even endgame players, by the way. That's the fucked up part. It's just these people that say, "Hey, man, I'm like concerned or scared about the next patch because right now I'm hitting 60k DPS on dummy, and I'll probably hit 40k on the dummy next patch or some shit." And they're asking me if there's a like a hope or some shit. I'm just like, I don't know, man. You know what I mean? Again, it's just not really good right after a major chapter, in my opinion, to reset everybody. I think do that for chapters in a better, softer way, but not immediately after a new trial comes out and after everyone's kind of like the dust has settled, but now it's gonna kick back up again. You know. So I don't know, man. It's hard for me too. It's like I also lose a lot next patch in a sense too, outside of the game, because not only are players losing interest in the game, and that of course affects my revenue or Lucky Ghost's revenue or whose ever revenue, right? That also builds fatigue for us too, man. And by man, I mean like everybody in chat. I'm just like talking to you as if you were one single person. But like I know a fair amount of content creators. One of them being my good friend Fear Turbo. The reason why he stopped making builds is because every 3 months or every 2 months, depending on the PTS cadence, was constantly changing combat updates that invalidates all the work you put into tier crafting for that patch, all the website work, all the video editing, all the test. It's a lot, man. It's a lot. I made a video, or rather, like I have a video. Also, that there's a poll up on my community page. There's 2,100 votes. Just asking like a simple question. I made a video. I had playing this video with Madara, just showing people, you know, a rotation, raid parses. Hey, here's what you do on a fight like this where you have to block or roll dodge or whatever. And like looking at the comments here, lol, why bother? A little late, don't you think? Fucking, I don't know, man. Hard to, it's just like everyone's just basically saying, this video you put out, this video you spent maybe a day and a half putting together, it's fucking pointless. And man, that's tough, man. And they're right. That's the fucked up part. They're right. It's week 1 PTS. Not even like halfway into the new patch for High Isle, really. And my build's already done. It's over. And a lot of people are tired of it too. It's not even just endgame players. It's also like people in the middle getting towards endgame because they have to basically refarm, get more transmutes, farm new dungeons, farm more stuff. I don't mind grinding as long as it's like fun. You know what I mean? A lot of people seem to think, oh, it's an MMO, you have to grind. I hate that philosophy. I'm okay with grinding things as long as it makes sense. I'm okay with grinding things as long as it provides some social outlet or fun for me and my friends, or for whoever I play with in an MMO, or even for myself if I'm a solo player. I don't like grinding every 3 months because for some reason we're always told that we have to suffer a bit for less changes later, but it just feels like man, I don't know, we're like especially as a content creator, it just feels like there's like all for nothing, honestly. And that just kind of translates to other, like, to the other players, like this frustration. I don't know. You know? And again, people who are happy with the patch notes, yeah, their opinion is valid too. I don't care. I really don't care if you like the patch notes or don't like the patch notes. I'm just saying, you know, just at least in public, don't do stupid shit. Don't say stupid shit to people. Don't tell people, hey, just because I haven't experienced what you've experienced, like your experience is invalidated. That's my main point here, and why a lot more people now are just kind of tired, man. It's just really tiring. It really is. It's just really tiring. And I get it. You know, that's what I'm saying. I understand what's going on. So it's like, it's just really demoralizing to me. And yeah, I'm basically like kind of, I just need to take a break. So I'll be gone on Wednesday for about a week. No streams, no videos. You know. Yeah, it's just really hurtful because it's like, well, I consider like this game my home, and it doesn't feel like I'm really wanted anymore. And a lot of players feel the same way, who are endgame, and I don't blame them, man. I don't really blame them for leaving. That's the messed up part. I wish I could tell them they were overreacting. You know what I mean?
No, I don't forget. Nephis, yo, bitch.
And I told,
you're
you know,
next.
like, I can't win. I just can't win. I just can't win. Because when I tell people objectively what is going on, whether, like, for example, one patch, I told people, yo, you know, this makes sense. I got called a fucking corporate shill by so many fucking people. So if I support in any way some sort of unpopular or mildly unpopular thing, you know, I'm called a corporate shill. If I go against, like, in my opinion, against the changes, I'm called a toxic elitist. I can't win, and it just hurts me that other content creators also had to experience what I've been going through for the past however many years at this point, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Again, you know, so yeah. We'll see. We'll see what happens with PTS week 3. I'm not expecting many changes from week 2 or 4. Historically speaking, PTS patch notes, majority of changes come for week 3 or week 5. So when you see week 2 doesn't have much except maybe bug fixes or slight adjustments, don't freak out. Just wait for PTS week 3. And then PTS week 5. That's really it. But yeah, really sad news about OMC and people leaving. Again, like, I'm a little emotional because, again, I haven't disbanded the core team of mine that's going for like a goal in 5 years, and I had to do it recently. And I personally know at least a couple dozen raid teams that have disbanded or are burning out or are set to quit. And this is the exact same thing I saw in Morrowind, but on a much more bigger scale, which is not good. So I'm just not sure. I just really hope that I don't really care if they do whatever for combat balance. As far as like the logic of it, I care at least. Hopefully they listen to more they take into consideration more the social effects of these changes. You know, it's just not fair, like, for a post to start all this shit. You know what I mean? It's just not fair to have this vague combat preview post insinuate that, hey, we're nerfing everybody essentially because of the higher end players. Let that, like, I don't really understand what's wrong with being high end, but there's always this been desire. I felt like I don't know if it's like intentional or not, or unconscious or not, to pin shit on us. And that again, that's where the feeling of betrayal comes from. You can ask anybody. Go ask a raider friend of yours or anyone that you may not like me. I'm okay with that. Maybe I am overreacting. You don't know. Just go ask people what they thought about the language and stuff. Because it feels a bit... That's what I'm saying. It feels... I'm trying to explain other people's feelings too, and my feelings. It just feels like betrayal. Because the people who go to PTS are the same people implied to manipulate or whatever. And I understand why the language is used. I just don't understand why it was used in that post. Within that context. So, I don't know, man. I'm just really worried about, I just have a lot of worries. And, yeah, I don't know. Just today, I've had 3 raid leads tell me they're quitting the game. And that's 3 less raid leads for Project Vitality, which is like... I've invested a lot of money and time into that thing. I spent at least $1,500 just prepping to go to console and help raid lead and help teach people, hey, these trials are not as bad as you think. You know, it's a social experience as well. I'll personally, you know what I mean? And I don't know if anyone in chat has actually gone to these raids in ESOU. We've hosted over 1,600 raids in the past 2 months. Between 240 raid leads. And when you cut that number down, it's like, well, I mean, I don't know what to do. It's stressful. And then people are being made to feel that they don't belong here. And, you know, I also apologize as well, like, if I ever said anything that I may not have intended for maybe, like, other segments of the demographic or the population. Like, my behavior or my words that may have, like, made you feel like you're not wanted. I apologize for that, and I promise I'll try to do better. But this outright harassment and shit, it's just fucking tiring, man. It's just fucking tiring. That's all. I'm just tired. That's why I'm just kind of venting. I just wanted to vent and just make a video about it so people understand why these feelings are the way they are. And why it's just such a big deal. Because I feel like a lot of people don't understand why this is such a big deal for the game. At least from that perspective. And that's okay. Again, you don't have to you don't have to understand. You don't have to understand me or what I'm feeling or what other people are feeling. Just at least acknowledge that, hey, you're feeling it. But the response has overwhelmingly been those feelings don't matter, and you just need to shut the fuck up and accept the changes. You piece of shit, toxic elitist. That's literally what they're saying. I've gotten I've gotten 2 emails as well. That's 2 people emailed me. One person emailed me some fucking rant about how like I'm a fucking nuisance or some shit, and the other person sent me a fucking Reddit thread. I showed the screenshot. I showed the screenshot. But I showed the screenshot in the ESC Discord. Someone sent me a Reddit thread in the email. It's my business email, by the way. It's just like, I don't know, trying to get support for this fucking Reddit thread. I don't know, it's fucking wild, man. I've never had this happen. So it's just a lot. It's just a lot. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. And, you know, it's like, again, I've played this game for so long, man. I could have raised a child by now. It's like over almost 9 years with beta included. So like, and then being told get the fuck out. I don't know. It just sucks. That's all. It just sucks. Anyway, yeah, I can read this out loud if you want. Yeah, I could have raised a 9-year-old child by now. All right, so I'm gonna read. This is Puppy's fucking essay in regards to the changes. So he raided with me on PTS for the Cloud Rest hard mode. I'm actually gonna upload the Cloud Rest hard mode probably tonight. You guys can watch it. I also commentate over it as to what we felt, what we found. And I'm not smart. I'm really like not intelligent in terms of like mathematical analytics and stuff like that. Whatever. I went there primarily to feel it. And what I felt as a tank, I think tanking will be mostly okay. I don't think I don't think healing is as accessible for newer healers or less experienced healers. From what many people told me, DPS seemed pretty boring in an actual trial because the same people that are harassing me say I don't test shit. Or if I do test shit, it's only on the dummy. Well, we have a bunch of raids at this point. But yeah, here's what he said. Yesterday, we went to test how the new changes affected VCR. This trial is one best optimized in terms of damage to handle the new changes, as the boss timer for ports operates in a 15 to 22 second timer, based on RNG, roughly. Likewise, the trial presents some pretty strong dots that take on players for 1 second at a time, like Hoarfrost and Orb dots, as well as the notorious Baneful mechanic, which dramatically reduces the healing done to multiple players at a time. The group that was put together consisted of 12 people who had successfully completed the Trifecta Griffinheart on live, but still had a fine mix of very high-end players as well as simply above average players. The skill in the group was well beyond the average group overall, but by no means as sweaty as it could be. Yeah, I would agree. We opted for the safest possible strats, opting to hold Reliquin and Gallonway in the center, which undoubtedly affected damage and fight times compared to some of the top scores you might consider. And that's what most groups do. So it's fine to test that. The night started with about an hour and a half, and you guys can watch the video. I'm gonna skip over. I'm gonna kind of skip to the conclusions of this. What does the clear tell us? it dissipates the myth that easier rotations means better damage and more mechanical awareness. This is the main reasoning given by the patch notes regarding the dot changes. It's confusing newer players into believing that this change will indeed help them, causing backlash towards endgamers who disagree with the motion. And I just talked about all this, about the insults, the harassment, even that. I just couldn't believe it, man. Like, they were going after skinny cheeks. I kind of understand maybe me, right? But does anyone here know Skinny Cheeks? Or like have watched a video of his or anything, or like interact with him? They're calling Skinny Cheeks a fucking, like, he hates fucking disabled people and fucking, I'm just like, that's just it. That's what we've been experiencing, and people just told me straight up, oh, no, that's just a minority of players. No. And I'm just like, man, I don't know, man, and that's why I'm frustrated, because it's, I don't know. Anyway, causing backlash towards endgamers who disagree with the notion. This pins us as doom and gloom. Oh, I fucking hate that phrase. Doom and gloom toxic elitists who just want to gatekeep. Why would I want to gatekeep? And oh my god. Okay, anyway. He just kind of goes on about, like, all that stuff. And he does acknowledge that we have overreacted a little regarding how heavily damage was nerfed. I will disagree with him here, because, again, you have to think about this. Who was in the raid? Can we adjust to it? Can newer players and newer raiders figure it out? That's the main point here. And my answer is a resounding no. It does not make it easier. It makes it harder. And Puppies actually makes a really good point here. And this is a huge point I missed, and I didn't even think about, because that's how I, apparently that's my mindset. But he brings up console. I've heard a lot of stories from previous console transfers, like getting blamed for not healing or getting blamed for whatever. Can you imagine telling somebody the healing over time can tick skip you? Like, if it's a heal every 2 seconds, and both healers are casting at the same time, and a dot or an instance of damage goes out in between those 2 seconds, and they don't get healed, who do you think takes the flak for that? You know what I mean? Like, there's just so many layers to this. It's like, why? Yeah, you can read about this. I'll put it in the description. I don't know. And, I guess I'll talk for a little bit more if anyone has any concerns or questions for what this means for them, or for what, yeah. Again, I would heavily avoid targeting or harassing specific individuals, no matter who they are. I think it's better to be more concerned about the changes themselves. And that's it, really. Okay, so someone brought up content. So there's one option they can do. One option is to keep the changes and nerf the content. I don't know how they'll go through all the content. If that's the route they want to pick, I can foresee maybe one entire patch where people just don't raid and kind of wait for the next patch after that. And I don't know if that'll be good or not. So, you know, hate Zaz. I'm just playing perfect player. I only hate Zaz. It's pointless. Don't hate anyone. The fuck? It's a fucking video game. Get a hold of yourself. Has it ever been possible to pug VSO? Yeah, of course. If the update goes through and they have to nerf content to match the new damage output, then what was the point nerfing damage in the first place? No, well, that's what I mean. It's just the logic and reasoning and the execution of said logic and reasoning. That's the part I don't understand, because if they wanted to nerf the ceiling, they could have done so in a variety of ways. Maybe they didn't feel like it was enough. They could have nerfed, I don't know, things like item set, maybe even remove Major Slayer. I don't know, like the things that really good groups can keep up at a consistent uptime that lower end groups can't. They could have nerfed us like that. And they could have nerfed light attack damage too, the way they did. I don't care. The endgame raiders like me have been asking. You guys will probably fucking hate me, for telling you. I've been asking for like a tone down of high-end damage for a while now. I've told him this is kind of ridiculous, so maybe consider toning down the damage to high-end without, obviously touching the floor in some way. Whether that's with maybe light attacks, and we've discussed this at great length with other players, and they agree. Because I just don't think at a certain point, for especially older content, it's not good. But for newer content, if they want to, it's so messy because newer content is designed around the high end. It's a lot. There's so many. And again, like, I'm not smart. I don't envy the devs at all with the position they find themselves in with this thing. But what's been happening is the power creep has raised the floor consistently. And now this next patch kinda upends that. So, again, I am all for it. I support the devs in their intention to close the gap somehow, at least in terms of knowledge and stuff like that. I support their intent to make content more accessible. I want that. I genuinely want that. I want people to pug VishyRF. Hard mode. I want people to pug VDSR. Why would I not want that? Like, I'm all for it. I just don't agree with the execution of it. Doesn't make sense. That's all I'm saying. And the fact that that's all I'm saying is being painted as I don't know, man. It's just the community, I feel like, is just not in a good place right now. So again, that's why I'm just taking a step back. I'm just gonna be gone for a week. I just want to let you guys know I'm just gonna be gone for a week. And I'll come back and we'll see what happens. Yeah.